Hey guys, my name is Ryan.
And my name is Miska.
And welcome to HitScan. We have some pretty big yet sensitive news to go over in this video, as we got a pretty exciting picture of the majority of the cast. But with stuff like this and the amount of misinformation flying around, a lot of this needs a bit of prefacing, doesn't it, Miska?
So this screenshot recently appeared just this morning, actually, from a Twitter account that's previously leaked parts of this screenshot, essentially just cropped parts of it, and now they put out the full thing. It's also worth noting that this started leaking on Monday actually, but we held making a video until now where a lot of Twitter accounts are tweeting about this and it's gonna spread fast. The quality just makes it seem very real. The character model is, well, very much looking like the character model from the trailer we've seen, the character Sage that we now know them as, and overall this really looks like it could be a screenshot from an alpha or from a video of the alpha build. Speaking of the alpha, we saw Riot August, a Riot employee that does a lot of balancing for characters in League of Legends, and they had just on their desktop an icon that said Project A Alpha NA, which, you know, it could be bait, could be just messing with his audience a bit, but it does seem like it could also be legit, as it's someone that openly talks a lot about their work at Riot and doesn't really seem to mind what they have on their desktop either. So that makes sense for this to be employee only, could be a leak from someone at Riot that sent it to a friend, and then that friend has kind of passed it on. Who knows? All in all, though, it's important to know that alpha does change a lot. Alphas change all the time with games, and that's why there tends to be NDAs about this stuff, because they don't want someone to announce something that may just change down the line, including visuals and such. And this alpha will most likely not be available to players. They will be playing a beta later on, which again, we probably won't see keys for. We will probably just see flagged accounts like we did with Runeterra. So if you see anyone talking about having beta or alpha keys for Valorant or Project A, then yeah, that's probably not legit. Going back to the image though, we see a lot of characters that we saw in the trailer all over here. So yeah, Ryan, you can go into detail a bit.
The most exciting thing out of these screenshots definitely has to be the character select screen at the bottom, some of which we've seen gameplay of these characters from the initial gameplay trailer. We'll remind some of the abilities as we go through, but going from left to right, we actually have some new names for the characters. The one on the far left, the bearded guy with a cap, is known as Brimstone, as we can see on the left hand side of the leaked image. We also have Sage, which is right in the middle of the character select, which of course you can see mainly on screen. And then at the far right we have Viper. That name is important, and we've seen a lot of this character, both gameplay wise and also in some of the Riot HQ pictures that we saw from the HBO series before Ballers, I think it was. At this point I kind of want to go over the abilities, because the character Sage has actually had quite a lot shown off. We even have descriptions of the abilities and what they do, so we'll go through them first. The first ability is the Barrier Orb, where you equip it, you fire it in place, but you can use your alternate fire to rotate the targeter, very similar to how Symmetra's ultimate no doubt works within Overwatch. And we saw a little bit of gameplay in this from the initial trailer. Take a look at this. The other two abilities that are not the ultimate we haven't seen just yet, but the first ability is the Slow Orb, where you equip the orb as you use it, much like grenades in CS. Once you select that ability, you have to then hold it in your hands, I suppose, until you use it. You fire it, it detonates upon landing, and it creates a lingering field that slows and grounds players caught inside of it. We had a couple of the influencers that played the game talking about a slow ability, so this might be one of them. There could be more, we have no idea. The second ability, all of you support players will love this, is the Healing Orb. Equip a Healing Orb, fire with your crosshairs over a damaged ally to activate a heal over time on them. Alt fire will use it on herself. We don't know how much by, we don't know if that's different, but there is a heal ability within this game. But the main one, the ultimate, and every character has an ultimate, is the Resurrection for Sage. You fire your crosshair placed over a dead ally and it resurrects them. After a brief channel, so it can be interrupted, you are susceptible to being killed whilst it's in use. The ally will be brought back to life with full health. That sounds like a ridiculously strong ability, but it's interesting to know that these kind of archetypes exist within this game, and Miska's going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. But first I wanted to go over the other abilities that we know from the cast. For Brimstone, we know very little other than what he looks like and his name. We haven't seen any gameplay. The character next to him though, which we're deeming Air Lady because we don't have a name for them yet, we've actually seen everything of her kit. Her ultimate is the kunai. We've seen this multiple times in the gameplay trailer, but it also includes an air smoke ability, which is seen on screen, the dash, which is used after the op shot, and also I believe the leap is a different ability to the kunai. So the jump up into the air is its own separate ability from what we know. There might be other interactions with the abilities, but we haven't had the same amount of description. Next to Air Lady, we then have Orange Man/Woman. It's very hard to tell with the image. no information. Then we have Sage, who we're going to skip because we went over them. We have Blue Eyes White Dragon, which I'm deeming this guy. No information, no gameplay. We have the Cowboy guy, which we have seen gameplay of, but we haven't seen any of his abilities just yet. We've just seen him getting killed a lot and then rezzed. But other than that, that's all we've seen. This character, you literally cannot see who they are because it's grayed out. And then we have Viper, who we have seen a little bit of in the gameplay, both with a grenade that was thrown and then a wall ability. There could be more characters added, we have no idea yet, but an interesting part of this are the roles that the characters have.
Just investigating this screenshot a bit further, there's quite a lot of small details around, but one thing that's quite consistent also with what we've heard just about the game is the Sentinel part here above Sage, which is obviously the main thing that people noticed when just the abilities were leaked initially. Sentinel probably referring to a more support type of class. I don't think they want to label them support, offense, defense, like in Overwatch for example, or anything like that, as the characters can do a lot themselves since they all have the same weapons, the same guns that they can buy. So with that in mind, we have the Sentinel class, we can see it on Sage here, but also on Slenderman with the cowboy hat at the bottom there, and additionally we can see on Viper and Brimstone these up arrows, which I would assume indicate offense, as it's kind of like forward or something like that. Not sure what exactly they would call that or refer to those classes as, we can only guess for now, but I'm sure they're gonna have a name kind of similar to Sentinel, where it's not really like an obvious label, it's more just something that puts them in a group of characters with similar playstyles. In terms of what the last group is, it's probably a more defensive one. I think there was either Henry G or maybe Nookie or someone like that that did describe that the classes and just the characters, I guess you could say, were generally put in those types of roles of being more offensive, more defensive, and more supporty. But yeah, we don't have sort of exact names for all of those.
Yeah, generally with these kind of roles, it doesn't seem that they're going to be set. There's not going to be like a 2-1-1 role lock kind of thing like in Overwatch, or attack defense heroes like you'd see in Siege. I think it's just more of a description of what kind of character may suit you, especially with heroes like Sage. Now, one thing that I did want to add as well in this image that I've just seen is in the top left you have Bind Unranked. Now, we assumed that Bind could be the name of the account, in which case, good job. But it could also be the game mode that's used. We know that there's going to be a defusal game mode in here, much like CS typically has, the bomb plant and all that jazz. That might be the name of the main game mode that you play within Valorant/Project A. And you have a ranked and ranked mode, so there is quick play as well if you want to play that. One last thing to sort of decode with some other information potentially. Liska spoke about how the game may be called Valorant earlier this week, and there is a Play Valorant Twitter account, and on it is this image which looks like something to decrypt, or at least some information hidden there for people to try and work out. Because we all love an ARG, right Sombra? One thing that I did want to say is the 02 could be referencing the fact that we may get more information on the game on March the 2nd. We know that more information's coming there, we don't know if this image has anything to do with it. But one thing that a couple of keen-eye people on the Reddits and Twitters have worked out, some of the text can be read as Episode 1, Rise of Viper, which matches up to the name of a character that we've seen previously. So maybe we get some like Overwatch animated short kind of level stuff of introduction to characters. Or maybe it's just a piece talking about who those characters are. Who knows? It's not necessarily saying that that's coming on March the 2nd, but that's just something to get your tinfoil hats on, I suppose. We 100% know, and Riot have confirmed that new information is coming on March the 2nd, we just have no idea what it is just yet. But that's all of the new information. The next bit of this video was actually a lot of work that Miska put in to work out what's on the buy menu, and this is an image that you made yourself, right?
Yeah, so essentially what I did is I just took this part of the first Project A trailer and I just kind of recreated the buy menu and started throwing things in there. For the first video where I featured this, I just had like an AK-47 icon, so it wasn't really anything final or any sort of decent work that had even gone into it. But over time I collected images of all the weapons, sort of what they looked like and how they worked, and I kind of labeled them different things. So this is in a way what the buy menu in that build at Riot's HQ there looked like. This buy menu may not look anything like this in the end, we don't really know obviously, but this is kind of at least an idea of what weapons are available in the game, what they're classified as, and yeah, how they're available to each character in a separate menu from the one that we've seen in the screenshot. So we'll see exactly how this turns out when we have a public build, a beta, footage, whatever may come next. But that's essentially how the buy menu will work. Kind of similar to Counter-Strike in the way that you can buy all sorts of different stuff, and instead of buying grenades, you just buy the abilities for each round, it appears as well. but yeah, no more details there as of right now. There were some sort of connections as well that I could kind of make just from the hero roster, seeing the characters in the trailer. Before we had the full picture as well off Sage here, just seeing how the belt there in the background lined up with how Sage actually appears in the trailer, of course. I had a bit of a theory as well on top of that with the original cast of characters that we see in the trailer as well, just the silhouettes, that one of them kind of looks like a bit this guy in the sort of orange collar there. Whatever that is, it looks very similar to the silhouette, like it's the same sort of coat or whatever that may be. This is essentially just trying to connect the images we have already with the characters we've seen, because, well, there's a lot of spread out sort of information, but hopefully this all kind of clears it up a bit as to what's going on, how many characters are in the game, how those characters work, and what they look like.
And that's everything that we wanted to go over in this video. Before we finish though, no doubt the next video that we're going to make on Project A or Valorant is going to be when we get more information on March the 2nd. What questions do you want answered about Project A? Gameplay, characters, whatever. We'll try and get answers for them for the next video when more information is revealed. Thanks for watching, take care, we'll see you next time.